The night before the party, my older son, who was, I guess, 8 or so at the time, 7 or 8, I was getting ready to put him to bed, and I said, "All right, just reminding you, tomorrow night's the party. Grandma and Papa are gonna bring you. They'll bring you home when you want. But we had a band and a food truck, and it was a very big event, and it was a big deal. I had worked so hard. We had all worked so hard, and we were really looking forward to celebrating." And I'm putting him to bed, and he looked right at me and he said, "I do not want to go to this party."
Hi, and welcome to Chatham Coffee Tour. Today I have my guest, Cheryl Murray. Cheryl is just opened a business, what, about a year ago or so? Or how long have you been open?
A little over 2 years ago. Yep, this is our
A
third
little
summer.
over 2 years. It's La Bella Skin Bar in downtown Chatham. It's been taking off. I've heard so many people talking about what great services you offer. And welcome, Cheryl.
Thanks, Barb. It's nice to be here. I'm excited to chat.
It's nice to have you. I'm so interested in how you got started in Chatham and how did you get here in the first place and what made you open a business here?
So it's a little bit of a long story, even though we only opened our business just over 2 years ago. I've actually been coming to Chatham for 15 years. My husband and I got married at the Wequassett Resort 15 years ago. So right off the bat, Chatham had a special place in our hearts. We started coming here when my kids were young for family vacations. And after 2 summers of that, we looked at each other on a winter weekend when we were here and said, you know what, this would be a fun place to have a house and raise our boys and kind of do the summer thing. And so we did. We kind of bought a home. My husband, fun fact, my husband never saw the inside of it. He only saw the outside when we were driving by that winter weekend. And my then year-and-a-half-year-old and I came into town to look at it, and we said we loved it. And he said, if it's good enough for you guys, it's good enough for me. And we've been in the same location now for 13 years. And we just have fallen in love with this town and the people here, but we're always kind of summer residents, so to speak, right? So we'd come when school would be out in early to mid June and stay through the end of August. And then come back for winter weekends. Of course, like everybody else that had a place here, we spent significant time during COVID and things like that. It's always been our favorite place to escape to, regardless of the season. And a few years ago when I had was busy, I'm a physician assistant. I've been a PA for just over 25 years now, and I have own a business in my main hometown in Connecticut. And I would start to come here in the summer, and my friends would think that I was just a traveling roadshow and say, Cheryl, what did you bring? What do you have in your bag there? What did you bring for me? And kind of ask me for services, which got me to say, you know what, maybe there's this place for La Bella. There's nothing like this that exists in and around this part of the Cape. And so, yeah, fast forward to another winter weekend. I was here for a tennis tournament with my oldest son, and I drove by the spot at 403 Main Street, and the flower boxes that were empty and all the trees without leaves, and it was kind of a gross time of year. And I looked at it and said, this is it. Just like kind of all those years ago when we found our house here. Saw it, connected with the realtor to see it that day, signed a lease, and kind of the rest is history, as they say. That was a little over 2 years ago. So yeah, we're just entering our third season on the Cape, but we've been open year round. Kind of ever since the day we opened our doors, we've not closed down in the off season or anything, because there's been just such a overwhelming support from the local community.
Well, I love that story for a couple of reasons. One, as a realtor, I love the idea that your husband didn't even see the house because I have sold a lot of houses from FaceTime tours, and there have been people that haven't seen it before they even did the home inspection. So I've done that before, but I love that. And I know the spot that you went to. My daughter is an architect now, and she used to work for SV Design when they were down in that space. And that space it's such a neat mix of an antique style building with just like, it's got some neat curb appeal, and then it's got some good parking in the front. So it's really a perfect spot for what you're doing downtown. And it's sort of tucked away a little bit too, off the main drag. Hmm.
It's perfect. We get a surprising number of people who do that kind of morning loop with their dogs or their friends or their strollers who walk by. So we get a good amount of foot traffic at all days, at all times of the day, rather. But we don't really depend or need walk-ins as much, right? People do come and say, hey, do you have anything right now in this moment for an IV or a facial? And we always try our best to accommodate when we can. But a lot of people are coming as a destination. So our location works beautifully. We have a lot of visibility on Main Street, but the parking lot right there out front is such a great draw for a lot of people because the ability to come onto Main Street, do something in a location where they get free parking right there, is really nice. So it's been a perfect fit for us. Just another little fun fact about real estate. I grew up in a home that was built in 1740, and my dad was in restoration of old homes, and that was what he did. And when I toured this location at 403 Main Street, the realtor said, it's a bit of a challenge. Like they won't let you do anything to the walls. You have to really work hard for preservation. And I just looked at her and I said, I understand that. I'm still a little bit scarred from not being able to hang posters when I was growing up all those years back, but we can make this work. And it's the most perfect spot for us. It has so much charm. Everyone that walks in the space kind of looks around and says, wow, this is gorgeous. And it just seems to be a perfect, I know in the, perfect use of that space. In all the years that I've been in town, I've seen it be, I think, about 4 to 5 different businesses. And I think we're such a great fit. And I know we hope to stay there for quite some time because it is just such a perfect spot for us.
So tell me a little bit about your background. Like, how did you, first of all, you're a PA. So you went to school, you had to go to graduate school, obviously, and you got your license, etc. And then how did you get into skincare? But also, I understand you really focus on women's wellness and health as well. So can you explain like how you started and how you kind of ended up where you are now?
Absolutely. So I'm a physician assistant. My business partner is also a physician assistant. So it's the two of us who started this business together. And like I said, I've been a PA for over 25 years. I did an undergraduate bachelor's degree in behavioral neuroscience. And 36 hours after my graduation, I started a physician assistant program, which is a master's program. And it was about 2.5 years of kind of intensive didactic and then a bunch of hands-on learning. When you graduate as a PA, it's kind of a interesting profession and a phenomenal profession in that you get a lot of exposure to different things during your training. And when you're done, you get a job where someone thinks you're going to be a good fit. Unlike some other things in medicine, whether it be a physician or nurse practitioner, where you have to kind of zero in on what you want to be from day one. Physician assistant, you graduate with a degree in physician assistant studies or PA studies, and with a master's. And my very first job out of PA school was actually in OBGYN down in Delaware, and I absolutely loved it. And I loved women's health. I had such a passion for women's health. And the problem with that job was that it was not close to family. And so I had that job for a couple of years and then moved back to Connecticut, where I'm from, to be closer to family. And there was not a role for physician assistants at the time in OBGYN in Connecticut. The kind of mid-level provider, which are, PAs, nurse practitioners, and then OBGYN is a midwife as well, was really just not, that job opportunity didn't exist. So I took a job in general surgery, which is anything from trauma and critical care to plastic surgery. So I did a lot of things in the hospital, and on my days off, I worked with a lot of the local plastic surgeons, and that kind of developed my love and interest for that side of things.
And so, as a PA, sorry for interrupting, but as a PA, is there anything you're limited to, or what can you do in the hospital, like in emergency trauma situations, and what can you do for dermatology, etc.? Is there anything you were restricted from?
Yeah, so by kind of definition, a physician assistant or PA practices with a supervising physician. And a lot of what you do is designated or delegated by that supervising physician. Now, in an office setting, so say my job in OBGYN or, kind of a job now in aesthetics, a lot of that is I can write my own orders, I can prescribe my own medications, I can make clinical decisions, but there has to be a supervising physician available for me to consult with if needed, right? So we have a medical director in our practice. In the operating room, that role is always as an assistant. So a PA doesn't operate on a patient on their own, but we can do, bedside procedures, we can assist in surgery, things like that. So it really is highly dependent on what role you're working in and kind of how much autonomy you have or don't have. But generally speaking, like the higher level of care and, a surgical procedure, you're more of an assistant in that role. And in the outpatient setting, it's really a lot of autonomous care for patients. And so, so I did those, would assist in plastic surgery on my days off, and I kind of developed a love for that. I took a few years off from clinical practice when I had my two kids, because I'm married to a surgeon, and we both looked at each other when my oldest son was born and said, this is tricky. Like, my 24-hour inpatient hospital call is not conducive to raising a baby, and you leave at 6. So I did take a couple of years off from clinical practice, which was a phenomenal gift. But as any busy, crazy mom knows, I got to the point where I said, you know what, I think I'd be a better mom if I went back to work and let someone else do some of this. So no, I adore my kids, but I missed being a PA. I missed being with patients. I love talking with patients. I love, treating them. And I missed that side of what made me me. And so I was anxious to get back to work. And when I did that, it was in a capacity of opening what's now known as Labella Medical Aesthetics.
So you started, and I totally get that about working in kids. I love all of my children too, but I also really love my job, and I love doing what I get to do. And I've been, lucky too, to be able to have more time at home, especially real estate's very flexible until it's not. And then, so the good news is I'm on the soccer field making phone calls. The bad news is I'm on the soccer field making phone calls. So, and I'm sure you have a lot of similar time, especially if you start your own business and you have two young boys, because that is, there's the time, the business hours that the stores open or the spas open, and then there's the behind the scenes job. So I bet you do have a lot of pull going back and forth between the boys.
In lots of different directions. I have a phenomenal business partner who we share a lot of that load together. But I will say that, there's a lot of people say that about owning your own business or being an entrepreneur or a small business owner. It's often your first love. I saw something recently that said, you can be a parent, you can be a small business owner, you could be a wife, you can be a friend, but you can't be any of those things all at the same time. And they all can sometimes take a backseat to one another at any given moment. So have I also taken important work calls from the soccer field? Absolutely, right? And have I sometimes missed a game because I've had to be at work? Absolutely. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. I very much love being my own boss. Like I said, I have a phenomenal partner partner at home in my husband, who's very supportive, and a business partner at work, obviously, who we do a fair amount of like sharing kind of responsibilities. But to your point, the work doesn't end when the office closes or the phones go off.
Especially if you own your own business, and two businesses too in different states, which has also got to be really interesting. Does your business partner do you spend more time in Chatham, or and then is that how do you divide it up between the two offices?
Great question. So our main office started in Farmington, Connecticut. And so that's where we are really most of the time. And then, like I said, when we found this location here, I was here. It kind of was a natural solution to the fact that I was here during the summer months. And then I come every other week because I have a great loyal following of locals here in and around the Cape area and even outside of Chatham. And our first year that we were open, everybody asked me, what are you going to do in the winter? What are you going to do in the winter? And I said, I'm going to keep it open and see. I will keep my schedule open. If people want to see me, I will drive here to see them. And I've done that every other week for the last 2 years. Um,
Wow,
this
that's a big commute.
Yeah, it is a big commute, but you know what? As I've done this drive quite a bit with two kids in the back and two dogs and bathroom trips and all of that, and I listen to my favorite podcast and I stop if I need to stop, and it's not such a bad drive when I do it on my own terms. And I do. I come into town and I'm so grateful. Like this has been a really phenomenal transition for me. I fell in love with Chatham 15 years ago, when I got married here. And then I fell in love with it again when we bought a house here and I met summer friends and all of this. And I would say nothing has made me and brought me more joy in this town than my last 2.5 years here in becoming a business owner. To me, that's just a really special thing to own a business in a town that means so much to me and that I love so much. But the relationships I formed with the people in this town is priceless. I mean, I laugh all the time when I say to people, they're like, gosh, you drove all the way here from Connecticut. I said, I'm getting in the car to go spend a day with my friends, right? I mean, they don't know that they're my friends, right? They don't think that they are, but I feel that way about my patients. I'm very lucky to have such a phenomenal group of people in and around this area who want to support us. And if I can drive to get here to see them and they'll see me, it's a good trade-off for sure.
That's neat. And you offer a real variety of services too. So, you're not just offering massages, or you have everything from IV therapy to you offer GLP-1s, and you offer Botox, and you offer other kinds of skin treatments. So what has been the most surprising offering, or what is the town embraced? Is there anything that you've been surprised that people have been really wanting to do or take advantage of?
Yeah, interesting question. Obviously, my background as kind of a medical person was in our original office being a medical aesthetics practice, which is heavy on Botox, dermal filler, lasers for sun damage, microneedling for collagen stimulation, medical grade skincare, all of that had to evolve a bit when we opened in Chatham, because while the local, our local people here need those services year round, we also have to kind of appeal to the vacation traveler who has their person at home that they would never dare not go see. But they're on vacation and they want a facial, but they don't want anything too aggressive because they have someone at home that they trust. So I would say we had to pivot a little bit, and the IV therapy part of our business here has been phenomenal.
Tell me about that IV therapy, by the way. I don't really, give me the whole 411 on it, what it is and what it does.
Yeah, so that's probably been the most surprising part of our business, and it's been really great. I There's a physician from years ago. His name was Dr. Myers, and he started kind of the concept of looking at patients who were recovering from chemotherapy treatments, and found that while they feel exhausted and lousy after chemotherapy, what the largest part of the issue was that they were really depleted in a lot of the vitamins and minerals because they were having significant GI losses from like vomiting and diarrhea and things like that, and just not able to take in as much. And he found that when he was able to replete those vitamins and minerals in IV form, because that's the most effective way of taking something, he was making these people feel dramatically better. So he's kind of largely considered one of the founding clinicians in the IV therapy world. And in fact, we have one IV on our menu, as do many IV spots in and around the world, called Luxury Myers. And the Myers, a lot of people think it's Meyer Lemon because it has a lot of vitamin C, but the Myers is for Dr. Myers, who is, kind of one of the pioneers in this industry. But what I would say is there's a lot of, people think about this could be something like after a night out with friends and having too much to drink. And I would say 95% of our people are coming in who are international travelers staying at these, world-renowned resorts near us. They are people that are traveling for work, whether it be international or just around the country. There are people that are coming in who've traveled from all over to attend a 3-day wedding celebration. Or I have someone that looks at me that I feel so much for who says, I'm here during the week by myself with my kids, and one of them had me up sick all night last night, and I can't afford to get it. Give me all the immunity boosting you can.
So it will help with jet lag and just regular overall immunity, especially for somebody that's very worn down. And like you were saying, like post chemo would be a great example. But just
Exactly.
even traveling across the country. How about for athletes?
So yeah, so we've had some of the baseball players from the Cape League in coming in, like double headers and the really significant heat. They will do something for sports recovery, like just hydration, magnesium for muscle recovery. So it's great for athletes. It's big for our golfers. They'll do it like in and around, sometimes in the middle of a big golf tournament or a member guest tournament. So big for athletes, great for illness, great for travel, and great for hydration. We also offer one called a beauty boost, which is like good for skin and things. But the idea is vitamins and minerals and IV additives are so much or more available to you when given IV form into your bloodstream rather than taken as a supplement by mouth and having to go through the GI tract and everything.
So better than the Flintstone vitamins, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Just a little better, but those were delicious.
Yeah, yeah, they were.
Oh, yep. I used to take those years ago. Yes, these are a little bit better, little bit.
Yeah, and direct too. I love that. And the Cape. I don't know if you have seen this, but I'm just thinking. There are a lot of older people that live in Chatham year round, especially, and on the Cape and the Lower Cape that have been. I know Hyannis has really built their cancer center. So I wonder if that is at all a part of your patients, or would they come in after
Yeah.
chemo, or?
We do. So, high dose vitamin C has some good research on the way that it can boost the immune system when patients who are recovering from cancer treatments. So, we have some people that will come in for that. Or I have people that have been told by their, general practitioner that they are deficient in the B vitamins and that they need to be repleted. And a lot of people will call us. We don't accept insurance, but they'll call and say, you know what? Okay, but I don't want to drive all the way to Hyannis to be, doing this at an infusion center. That's like a 6-hour process. Can I just pop over? Will you do it for me? And I said, sure, fine, right? I want to see your blood work. I want to kind of look at that together to make sure that what we're doing is appropriate. And, certainly if you have any notes from your provider, I'm happy to look at them. Again, I have a lot of medical training, so it's not just, hey, pop in this IV, you'll feel better. I like to look at the whole picture if that's something that we're doing. But I've helped quite a few people in that way who have said, this is just a more convenient way for me to get what I've been told I need.
Totally, especially if you're already depleted to have to go to Hyannis and go to a hospital and get in line and take a number. I mean, that's
Yep.
a couple of hours from
Exactly.
here. So wow, what a neat idea to be able to do that there. And tell me about the GLP-1s too. That must have been, is that a newer part, or have you always been prescribing those? Because I know they're so popular right now.
They are so popular right now. We've been prescribing them for about 3.5 years now. It has become, kind of a distinct part of our practice. We started carrying them initially because we had so many patients coming in for other services and saying, we trust you. They would say this to my business partner and I, and say, if I'm going to do these, at the time, 4 years ago when we started kind of looking into these things, 3.5 to 4 years ago, it was still very unknown. And people that were getting them by either black market, Ozempic or things like that, taking away, you might have seen in the headlines, taking away diabetes medications from diabetics who need them. There was a lot of controversy surrounding these medications. And our patients came to us and said, we know that if we were ever to do this, we would trust you. We know that you would source it ethically. We know that you would let us, have us do it in a responsible manner. So please, please, please bring this on. And I think we probably had some of our patients begging us for about 6 months before my business partner and I said, okay, you know what, let's do it. And we did. And in our usual fashion is to dive into something, kind of with arming ourselves with a whole lot of knowledge, right? So we did the number of articles I read and the number of studies I read and the experts and the podcasts I listened to and, kind of all of these things because I take it very seriously. And my patients who know me know this very well about me. But I say to them all the time, I like to sleep very much. Sleep is restorative. It does a lot of good things for us. It's good for our skin. It's good for everything. But when I lie down at night, I have to feel comfortable going to bed at night, knowing I've done a good job and I've done the right thing for my patients. And so we've only ever, sourced things from FDA approved pharmacies and kind of all of that. I take that very seriously. I've never, I'm very diligent about our whole offices, all of our staff. We have quite a few providers at this point, but everyone's very diligent about the way that we do it. It's not meant to just be, oh, sure, this is what you want to do.
And I saw you have a pretty big team too,
Yeah,
right
we
now,
do.
right?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have. We started with 3 employees, back when we first opened years ago, and we are now up to, I think, 15, maybe 15 or 16 employees. And we've grown exponentially, which is phenomenal. I think as a small business owner, I feel a little bit like a mom when I say this, but nothing makes me happier than when like one of our employees becomes someone else's favorite provider. So even though I, love to see everyone, I can't, right? And same thing with my business partner. We have to have other people that can see patients in our absence or while we're doing other things, business related, et cetera. And that's probably been my one of my most favorite things about the growth of our business is finding people, finding out that people love our providers as much as we do, which is really special.
And how has the year-round part of it been? Because there are a lot of businesses, especially some stores that really, and even restaurants that know that the summer is where they're going to make their money, and then the winter they're just going to basically eat it and just do the best to get through January, February, March. But I bet your business is starting to grow. And I bet also that it's not all just Chatham people. There's probably Lower Cape people that are coming looking for something like this because I really haven't heard of anything that's really been as big as what you're describing.
Yeah. So when we made that commitment that first winter where I said, you know what, I'll keep opening the schedule and if people book, I'll keep coming. We made that commitment and it was really phenomenal. The one thing I kind of alluded to this earlier, but that made me fall back in even more in love, I guess, with this town is there's so many loyal people. And I think about this with COVID, when my family and I, my husband and I weren't working because in healthcare, he's in an elective side of medicine. And when we were coming here, we would order takeout and kind of do anything we could to support our favorite businesses. And while I was an anxious mess, kind of about everything happening in medicine, my husband would say to me, we're going to get through this. And when we do, we want our favorite restaurants to be here. The world is going to come back. We are going to eat at them again, but let's do our best to support them and make sure that they're here when we want them. And I feel that way in a much lesser scale about the off season in and around Chatham. I think that a lot of the local businesses, including ours, do things to support the locals. So in the off season, we launch a local loyalty program that if you join for a very nominal fee, you get a discount off services in the winter months, and products, so products and services. And I think that goes a long way with people because they know that we're trying, right? We're trying to support you for supporting us. But I think it's kind of that, like I said, on a much lesser scale, but it's that COVID concept. Everybody wants us to do well and everybody wants us to be here in July as much as they want us to be here in January, because when they're in town and they want a facial or they want their Botox or they want their IV or whatever it is that they need, they want to know that our doors are open. And I think that has been kind of the most phenomenal thing, that we've just said we're going to commit to staying open year round. And in the most amazing way, the Chatham community and all of around the Cape, like you said, has made a commitment to support us, and it's been really, really special, and we plan to continue to do that.
It's so nice to know that the consistency with any business that's open in the winter is there. Like, maybe certain stores, we play like restaurant roulette in the winter. Like it's Tuesday, it means this one's open, and we all guess, or we all actually know. We all have a little spreadsheet in our minds of what's open, what days. But the consistency of that, you can go to a business and they're going to be open, and barring the unusual phenomenal snowstorm, you're going to be able to get in and just get your regular business as usual, because the year-round Cape community is active and busy. And I hear you in COVID, with especially you were home with kids that are same age as my son, and that was such a crazy time, especially with homeschool and whatnot. And it was nuts. What do your boys think about your business?
So, one little funny story about being a working mom, and I kind of said this earlier, how I couldn't wait to get back and do things. So, we were growing, my business partner and I. It took us, quite a few months to get everything going till we opened our doors for the first time. And we opened kind of in a temporary space because there was a little bit of a construction delay opening our main location. And the night before our main location opening party, I had been working like crazy, to kind of get everything going. And the night before the party, my older son, who was, I guess, 8 or so at the time, 7 or 8, I was getting ready to put him to bed. And I said, all right, just reminding you, tomorrow night's the party. Grandma and Papa are going to bring you, they'll bring you home when you want. But we had a band and a food truck, and it was a very big event. And it was a big deal. I had worked so hard. We had all worked so hard. And we were really looking forward to celebrating. And I'm putting him to bed, and he looked right at me and he said, I do not want to go to this party. I said, what do you mean? You like parties, whatever. And he said, why would I go celebrate something that's going to take you away from us? And as
Aw.
any working mom can tell you, right? I cried myself to sleep that night.
Great
What have I
job. Uh-huh.
done? Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
And they had a great time at the party, as expected. He was devouring shrimp cocktail. The morning after the party, he came downstairs into the kitchen, and he just looks at me and goes, great party, Mom, great party. And I'm like, really, Harrison? That's all you have to say? Great party. And it's funny because over the years, since that time, if I remind him of it, he kind of laughs. But since then, they see me have kind of what I would say like a personal win, or something great happens for Labella. We get an award, we get another 5-star review, like the little ways we measure success as small business owners. And my kids will look at me, both of them are really great about this, and my husband too, and say, I'm so proud of you, Mom. I'm really proud of you. And that is, I laughed to myself at that story the night before the opening party, but it's really special, I think, as a busy working mom that sometimes, like you said, takes calls from the soccer field and sometimes misses the game, that they see the bigger picture. They see that I work really hard. They're proud of me and what I've been able to accomplish. And I think that that's kind of, if I can leave them with that and know that I feel like I have it all. I have a job I love every day going to work, and I have, a family that supports me. That's the best of all of it. So it's been fun.
That's awesome. And I bet they're excited. They also get to spend the summer in Chatham, which must be a big win for them too. Uh, and you said they play tennis down here, and they've got some activities. So they've gotten a win out of it as well. And those are some of the perks, right, of having a working mom.
Absolutely. Everybody wins. They get their summer friends, their summer activities, and they get me at the end of the day. So it's perfect.
That's awesome. Well, Cheryl, I want to ask you also my favorite question, which is, where is your secret spot in Chatham? Where do you go, sort of, either to relax, or where's your favorite, like, come on, kids, let's go, we're going for a beach walk, or just to get away, kind of away from the crowds, or what do you like to do?
It's not so secret, but it's always been a place I've gone back to over the years, and it is the sunrise on Lighthouse Beach.
Oh,
Um,
I love that.
I just find I'm a morning person. I love to get up before the sun rises. I started that when my kids were really little, and they weren't sleeping through the night, and I figured the only way I could tell my friends they were sleeping through the night was to get up at 4 when they got up, when my son got up, and said, call it that. If I call that morning, then my son has now slept through the night. And I've just always been an early riser ever since then. And
A good way to look at it. I love that.
and I, once or twice a year, it could be when I mean, the winter's really nice when I'm here for work because the sunrise is later
A
for
little
sure.
later.
Yeah, but I think for it's just always been something that I've loved to do. And, we talked about when I was here during COVID and, kind of all the time since. There's something about looking out over that water, and just that kind of calms me and gives me a renewed sense of hope about, hey, this is another great day. And I really do wake up here thinking, it's another great day in Chatham, and something about seeing that sunrise makes me just feel so incredibly lucky to be in this town, a part of this community, and excited for another day.
I'm a big sunrise girl too, and I'm a morning person as well. So I'm with you. There's some special places you can go to see the sunrise, but the lighthouse is the best for sure. But I have my couple little other spots I'll try to hit once in a while, especially in the winter when it's a little later to
You'll
try
have to
to.
share them with me.
But yeah, on the side. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I'll text them to you. Well, great. Well, thank you. It's been so great to talk to you and hear about your business and also your background. I just think it's fascinating. And I love what you're doing for this town, and especially to open year round. I think it's terrific. So it's been wonderful. Thanks for talking with me, and good luck with everything this summer. I'm sure you're going to
Thanks,
be
Barb.
very busy.
We're looking forward to a great summer. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. For more local stories, favorite spots, and inspiring people who chose Chatham, follow and subscribe to Chatham Coffee Tour and stay connected. Whether you're already here or dreaming about life in Chatham, this is your place to belong.